A client got the job, the good one, the one she'd wanted for 2 years. She spent the entire session listing reasons it might fall through. The offer letter was still open on her phone. She hadn't signed it yet. And instead of talking about the salary or the title or what it might feel like to finally exhale, she wanted to talk about contingency plans. What she'd do if they rescinded it. What she'd say to her landlord if she couldn't actually afford the new apartment after all. She was already grieving something that hadn't happened yet. Already bracing for a loss that existed nowhere except in the part of her that had learned a long time ago that good news is just bad news that hasn't arrived. I sat there thinking, I know this one. Not because I'd read about it, because I've done it myself, more than once, in ways I'm not proud of. Welcome to Breathe and Begin. I'm Sarah, a psychologist, a mother of 2, a woman who spent her 20s believing that certainty was the same thing as safety, and learned, slowly and expensively, that it isn't. Today isn't about positive thinking. It's not a pep talk about manifesting your best life. It's about something quieter, and I think more honest. What happens in us when things start going well? Because for a lot of people, that's not a relief. It's a threat. And if that sounds strange to you, stay a minute. I promise it'll sound less strange by the end. If you've ever caught yourself doing what my client did, building the disaster before it's even been invited, you're in the right place. And if this is landing somewhere in you, I'd love it if you stuck around. Maybe told a friend who needs to hear it too. Let's get into it. There's a phrase for it, and you already know it: waiting for the other shoe to drop. What nobody tells you is that the waiting itself becomes a full-time job. You can spend so many hours guarding a good thing that you never actually get to have it. The promotion, the healthy relationship, the calm Tuesday. It happens, technically, but you're not there for it. You're 3 steps ahead, scanning for the version of events where it gets taken away. This isn't pessimism. Not really. Pessimism is passive. This is active. It's vigilance. And vigilance, once it's been useful to you, once it's actually kept you safe at some point, doesn't just retire because the danger's gone. It keeps clocking in. Here's the part that took me a long time to understand, both professionally and in my own kitchen. Bracing for a loss and actually experiencing a loss cost the body almost the same thing. Your shoulders don't know the difference between this might go wrong and this is going wrong. Your sleep doesn't know the difference. So you can live an entire good year braced against a disaster that never comes, and still end that year exhausted, still end it depleted, as if the bad thing happened anyway. In a strange way, it did. You just supplied it yourself. That's the cost nobody puts on the invoice. Not the disaster, the bracing. I want to be careful here because this topic gets confused with something else constantly, and the confusion does real damage. People think the alternative to bracing is naivete, some kind of blind, unearned optimism where you pretend nothing bad ever happens. That's not what I'm talking about, and honestly, that version isn't more honest. It's just a different kind of avoidance. Hope, the real kind, isn't the absence of risk. It's the willingness to be affected by something before you know how it ends. Naivete says nothing bad can happen. Hope says something bad could happen, and I'm going to let this be good anyway, for as long as it's good. That distinction matters more than almost anything else in this episode. If you grew up anywhere near instability, a parent's illness, a house where the mood could change with the weather, a period where things were fine and then very suddenly weren't, your body learned a rule early. Good does not last, so do not relax into good. That rule made sense once. It might have even protected you. A kid who stays alert survives better in an unpredictable house than a kid who fully lets their guard down. But your body doesn't update that rule automatically just because your life did. It runs the old software. So 30 years later, in a life that's actually stable, actually kind, your nervous system is still checking the exits during a birthday party. I'll tell you something I don't say often. There was a stretch a few years after my divorce, maybe a year or 2 into things finally being okay, when I noticed I was doing the exact thing my client did with her job offer. Ethan was doing well in school. Lily had stopped waking up at night. I had a little more money than the month before, for once. And instead of feeling good, I felt this low hum of dread, like the quiet was a trick. I remember standing in my kitchen, a different one, a smaller one, nothing dramatic about it, just washing a dish, thinking, this is too easy, something is going to happen. Nothing happened. That was the whole lesson. Nothing happened, and I still couldn't rest in it. And that told me more about what I'd survived than any hard day could have. Underneath the bracing, there's usually a belief, and it's rarely spoken out loud because it sounds so unreasonable when you say it plainly. I don't get to keep this. Maybe it's good things happen to other people, not people like me. Maybe it's I'll pay for this somehow. Maybe it's simpler. I haven't earned enough suffering yet to be allowed this much ease. Nobody chooses to believe that on purpose. It gets built, usually early, usually from watching what happened the last time things were good and then weren't. But a belief built from old evidence doesn't stop running your life just because you've never examined it. Let me ask you something, and I want you to actually sit with it instead of answering fast. What if the good thing currently happening in your life, the relationship, the recovery, the calm, the job, whatever it is, isn't a setup? What if it's just what it looks like? No hidden clause, no cosmic balance sheet keeping score, waiting to collect. I know how that sounds to the part of you that's been burned. I'm not asking you to trust the universe. I'm asking you to notice that the bracing isn't actually protecting you from anything. It never prevented the bad thing before. It just made the good thing smaller while it lasted. So what does this actually look like day to day if you're someone who does this? It's noticing the moment your mind jumps from, this is nice, to, but. It's catching yourself narrating the disaster before there's a single piece of evidence for it. It's asking, gently, not dramatically, is something actually wrong right now? Or am I just unused to things being right? It's letting a good Tuesday be a good Tuesday without auditing it for hidden costs. Small, unglamorous, repeated 1,000 times. That's most of what change actually looks like. Not a breakthrough, just a slightly different response, over and over until it's the new default. There's a kind of joy that keeps one hand on the door, ready to leave before it's asked to. And there's another kind, undefended, a little foolish feeling at first, that just stays in the room. I'm not going to tell you it's easy to move from one to the other. It isn't. It can feel almost unsafe, letting your guard down around something good, the way it can feel unsafe to fall asleep in an unfamiliar place. But the body can learn safety the same slow way it learned danger, through repetition, through evidence, through nothing bad happening enough times that the old rule finally loosens. You don't have to trust it all at once. You just have to stop actively working against it. So, back to where we started. My client and the offer letter still sitting open on her phone. I didn't tell her to stop thinking about risk entirely. That's not realistic, and it isn't honest. What I asked her was simpler. Can you let this be good today and deal with tomorrow's problem tomorrow, if it even comes? That's really the question underneath this whole episode, and maybe underneath your life right now too. Not, will it last forever? Nothing does, not even the hard things. Just, can you be here for the part that's good, without paying for it in advance? If any of this found you tonight, I hope you'll sit with it a little longer than usual. Maybe come back next week. Maybe pass this along to someone who's been quietly bracing for a while. I'll be here either way. Your life is allowed to get better than you imagined. You don't have to earn the permission first. That's it for today. Take care of yourselves and let good things be good while they're here.